Hello, everyone. We're back today on May 21st, 2022, and we have a new session with Michael, a biblical view on conspiracies. Here we are, Kennedy ritual number 7, JFK, Antichrist. Michael, welcome.
Brett, welcome. Listeners, welcome. And everybody who has to bear with my bad English, also welcome. It is a habit that I'm distorting and trying to wake up Brett over in the United States. So
It's not your fault, Michael.
It's not my fault.
No.
Yeah, I'm not responsible for the time difference.
No. It's just fine.
It's
I must say though, Michael, your English is doing very well. Actually, I'm very thankful that you are capable of communicating in English, because if you weren't, obviously we wouldn't be able to do these sessions.
Yeah, and you could sleep a little bit longer.
I don't care about that. That's fine.
You see that this session on Kennedy, well, these sessions on Kennedy are getting more and more intense. Of course, there are many people around there. I could tell that they just want to know who did it. But actually, there are many, many more interesting things around that. And if you listen carefully to these sessions then and you combine the dots for yourself, you can find it out on your own. You can find it out on your own. You don't need any media. You just need your common sense. Yeah, this is called JFK Antichrist. What is that kind of a strange title, huh?
Yeah. What's with the title, Michael?
What's with the title? We will see the explanation, I think, in half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let's welcome back from another time.
Bob Dylan, yes. I made a bargain with the chief commander on this earth and in the world we can't see.
And many people complain, oh, you did it wrong. I don't like your session. Because he is a Christian singer and he is converted to Christianity. And he meant God. Sorry, I cannot recall in the Bible that we shall or can make a bargain with God.
Oh, dear God, I offer you something and I want to have a world fame in return.
I can remember in Luke 4 that it was Satan who said, then all this power and glory I will give to you if you bow down and worship me.
That's right.
But that's a problem, is that the majority of people who are then fans of some idol, which is forbidden in the Bible, are not reading the Bible. Of course. So what's it all about? Why I have here pinned down this Bob Dylan, his real name is, of course, not Bob Dylan, has nothing to do with Babylon, nothing to do with, nothing to do with the original name of him, Mr. Zimmerman. Was it Zimmerman? I have to look it up. I don't care, actually, because if somebody has an artificial name, yes, Zimmerman, Robert Allen Zimmerman. A Jewish American, I know he's Jewish, but it's just not important. Let's get back to the script, because this is a 2-hour session, at least. He made a song called Murder Most Foul, about 70 minutes, about many, many interesting quotes about the assassination on JFK, and he says, the day that they killed him, somebody said to me, son, the age of the Antichrist has just only begun. I'm sorry, Mr. Dylan, you don't have any clue, because the Antichrist is in the working since thousands of years. Actually, the spirit of Antichrist is in the world since the beginning. And because the spirit of Antichrist is Satan, Lucifer, however you would like to call him. And in the chapter of John, in the Gospel of John, it has been mentioned that the spirit of Antichrist is already in the working. So this is a futurist explanation. That is a Jesuitical explanation. But why I'm not surprised that that kind of a strange quote of Bob Dylan came from one who received a Nobel Prize on literature, huh? The mighty men of the earth, the people who have made a bargain with the chief commander on this earth. Yeah, and the world we can see, maybe because that world is very, very black and dark. So that is just the introduction of all the mess which is about to come, because this session is a high power session, which means it's pedal to the metal here. We are quoting many Bible quotes, Bible verses here, and we will see that it has something more to do, and we are going into real assassination now of Kennedy. First of all, of course, it's just like a small tradition. I would like to go into some other things surrounding the assassination or surrounding the Freemasonry hierarchy in the United States. Yeah, I tried to upload. Oh, sorry. In Murder Most Foul, the Kennedy assassination, Bob Dylan sings Zapruder's film. I've seen that before, seen it 33 times, maybe more. So you know that he's quoting the 33 degree of Freemasonry. And so you know that he knows that Freemason has some involvement in the assassination of JFK. Huh? So that is revealing Mr. Bob Dylan that he knows that there is something Freemasonry to it. So that it is not the lone nut Lee Harvey Oswald. But it's just the beginning of that session. I tried to upload another session with the insert of Walter Cronkite, who said very famously,
3 shots in Dallas, Texas, 3 shots have been...
And this video, or this insert actually, of a few seconds has been deleted and cannot be published in 5 countries, which is the Vatican, Italy, San Marino, Malta, and China. It's very interesting because Vatican is in the middle of Italy. Italy is Italy. San Marino is in Italy. Malta has something to do also with the Knights of Malta, maybe, which are in the Vatican, which is in Italy. And China is, I don't know. China, you see, everything is China. They're all complaining about the censorship in China, and actually the 5 countries who are blocking that video insert or blocking the entire video. If I would not have deleted it in the meantime, yeah, these are the 5 countries who have very strict blocking and censorship policy, and that should create some gray hairs on your head, I think, Brett, huh?
Well, you know, it just makes me wonder if, you know, why would they even allow it to be viewed at all? You know, if you know, but yeah, I don't know. Whoever's in charge of YouTube, it's so strange, Michael. I mean, you know, ever since I've run into problems with YouTube, I just, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a slap in the face, but you know, you just got to keep moving on, I guess, right, Michael?
Yeah.
But this is very revealing, actually. I'm glad you bring this up because
this is just a CBS bulletin. Yeah, it's without any people in the background or so. It's just the CBS bulletin. Yeah, about the 3 shots. That's it. Yeah, and even that is restricted nowadays. Yeah, so they have something to hide, or they have some very strict rules and contracts with Sony Music. In Germany, the highest court, which cannot be argued against, has decided that the mandatory V is absolutely according to the law, because with that mandatory V, the medical staff will protect the vulnerable people. The problem is that it's absolutely fact-free, because the so-called medicine, which is inserted there, does not protect anybody. Yeah. So it is absolutely fact-free, but that's just politics today. Yeah. So politics. And also, when I got news to the oil price this week, this is a German page, of course, Financials Net, they said at the same day, that's why the oil prices are going down, and a few hours later, that's why the oil prices are going up. So they don't have to do any research. They know it instantly. Huh? That's very interesting. You see that don't believe anybody who's pointing out anything to you, because there's a quote of the Freemason called Mark Twain. He belonged to the Polar Store Lodge based in St. Louis. He was initiated and then passed on and raised to the degree of Master Mason on July the 10th. And this is the very grade, the third grade of Freemasonry, which is the grade with the ritual of the killing of Hiram Abiff, the great architect of King Solomon's temple, which is the same ritual they put out on JFK. Haha.
So,
And
Michael, can I quick ask a question? Sorry to interrupt your train of thought there. Oh yeah, you got it. You're ahead of me already.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw what you typed in. That's what I was going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You're already on it.
Mm-hmm. If you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you are misinformed. Yeah, so that's the quote which has been given to him. Yeah, so that is the same quote. And Mark Twain also is from Scottish descent. Yeah, and so the Scottish Rite in the Scottish Temple and the Scottish, you see a 33 degree. Yeah, he was a Freemason officially. Yeah, so that is his quote. So please don't think for 1 minute that they are giving out useful information. You have to research on your own. By the way, this is absolutely spot on. Yeah, you see, he has the same degree with the Hiram Abiff ritual they played out on Kennedy, which means that Kennedy then received the third grade in Freemasonry with that ritual, with his death. I'm not joking. So what about Freemasonry in the United States? Well, there's plenty of it, and out in the open. This is from the New World Airport Commission, not from the Warren Commission, and not from the New World Order, but the New World Order does need a New World Airport, so it seems, on March 19th, 1994. We can go into gematria and all the things, but you think that is absolutely obvious. That is something to do with the Freemason Grand Lodge of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
The Grandmaster. Not Grandmaster Flash, but Grandmaster here. And with the alleged time capsule. So you know that the airport in Denver has been attributed to the Freemasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this soldier here is trying to kill that dove or what else, or the people here, with a sword and with a gun. And that gun here, and also he's wearing kind of a mask, so a gas mask or what else. And so he is military, you see that on his belt, you see that on his shoulders and the head. And he's wearing a strange magazine in that gun. That does not seem to be that American gun that I know, but that seems to be a Kalashnikov, which would be a Russian gun. That is just my explanation of that. Yeah, you see Kalashnikov, that's the name of somebody who has invented that world famous assault rifle,
yeah.
or that rifle. Yeah, you see, but not that with that straight, but with that curved magazine. Yeah, and that's what got me into curious if that would not resemble a Russian soldier, maybe. I don't know. You see, that is, of course, an enemy. Yeah, he's leaving the world in ruins. He's trying to kill the peace. Why? Because love usually is a symbol for peace. Yep, but the problem is, we cannot know for sure. But what we can know for sure is that, after all, it seems to be that the children of this world are then celebrating, and the people of this world are then celebrating peace in every kind of language here. Alafia, Spain, as far as I know, and paz, and peace, and Friede, German, etc., etc. Because he seems to be dead, and then the doves are triumphant on his gun, okay? And this gun seems to be broken, etc., etc., etc. So that seems that they will then have peace. And not only peace, but peace and safety bread.
Yeah. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape.
Yep. That's my problem with peace. And this is in the Freemason temple, so to speak, of Denver Airport. Yeah, not by coincidence, I see, or I guess. You see that I was reminded of Matthew chapter 10.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
Yeah, and there's also a quote, I know that from memory. It is in John 14. John 14, I think it is 26, 27 somewhere. Yeah, the 27.
Okay. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid.
Yeah, so the peace that the world is has a meaning of, that is not the peace that Jesus Christ means. So when the satanic world speaks of peace, then it is about the 1 Thessalonians 5:3, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. So peace and safety is a highly dangerous attribution, because it means peace and safety for the wicked. In my humble opinion, sorry. Yeah. And I think that is not coincidence that the Denver airport has a very, very strange meaning of art. You see, that's a kind of gargoyle. Yeah, so usually to drink from. But this is also a statue which can be raised to life with sorcery and demonic energy. That's the official explanation in the German Wikipedia. And this is displayed famously in the Denver airport, which also resembles that kind of part of a 9/11 attack. I think all of you know what I mean. And it's very strange that also in the Denver airport, they are just displaying that part of a fraction of the World Trade Center. So Freemasonry and Freemason rituals everywhere, everywhere. And they're not hiding it. You only have to decode their symbolism. And you only have to look straight.
Yeah, the plaque says, honoring those who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. We shall never forget. Oh, we shall never forget how they hoodwinked us.
Yeah, we shall never forget that afterwards, about 500,000 Iraqi children and people were also been killed by this. By Matthew Albright's opinion on, yes, it was, we think that it was worth it, and millions of people being killed in the wars, but they're just speaking about their people being killed in the skyscrapers, huh? So if that's not double speak, I don't know. So we're going back to the Hiram Abiff. I have to translate it into English here, I'm sorry. But against the Freemason allegory, Hiram Abiff has been murdered by 3 ruffians who had attacked him to know the secret of that architect, but the secret has been never revealed. He was been hidden outside the temple where he stayed until King Solomon found it and buried him. In 1979, United States House Select Committee on Assassination, that's another spoof, yeah, so that's another official source where the outcome would be totally clear, agreed with the Warren Commission, yeah, so I have separated this word, that Oswald's 3 rifle shots caused the injuries that Kennedy and Connelly sustained. So they had the same conclusion. Yeah, I remind you that it was the ritual for the 3rd degree in Freemason, for the Master Mason, which also was Mark Twain, the Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. He was raised to the Master Mason. But the question is, where does his story has been played? And I can tell you, it was in St. Petersburg, a fictive town in Mississippi, United States of the 19th century. In St. Petersburg, you know, that's very strange that Mr. Mark Twain could not come up with another town in his fiction, as St. Petersburg, which is, of course, a very, very, very religious city in Russia. Once again, Russia. And In Russia, there is Catherine the Great, so to speak, which was a German original woman, which then was been married to the Russian Tsar. And so she was a female Tsar or Tsaress. I don't know what is Tsaress in English.
I guess.
I guess, okay.
I,
Yeah, but she protected 201 Jesuits. How the Jesuits survived their suppression. There were several people or rulers who protected the Jesuits when they were suppressed by the papal bull. It was Friedrich the Great in Germany and Prussia, and it was the majority of them. It was the Catherine the Great in Russia. Yeah, so she saved the society almost single-handedly. She protected 201 Jesuits in 1772. Except for a few Jesuits in Quebec. Yeah, you see that Canada is very, very infamous at the moment with this Jesuit policy, as Mr. Trudeau.
yeah.
Yeah. And from Katharina, it was 201 Jesuits in 18 departments, 18,666 departments. And then you see that there is an Event 201 pandemic exercise conducted on October the 18th, of course. Yeah. So you see, they are obsessed with numbers, and there had to be 3 shots. And people are being indoctrinated to believe 3 shots, and she is very indoctrinated very much, because you see that on her wardrobe. I guess you know what I mean. So people are indoctrinated to believe that that was the gun. And all of this here is fairy tale. All of this. The only thing which is true, that JFK was killed. The Warren Commission said the consensus are 3 shots were fired. Consensus is my explanation, does not mean truth. It just means that all have agreed upon that, but it not necessarily mean the truth. So Hiram Abiff, or Hiram Abiff, or the widow's son, is the central character of an allegory. So always not truth, it's a legend, it's a BS. Presented to all candidates during the Third Degree in Freemasonry, Master Mason. He is presented as the chief architect of King Solomon's temple, and he is, that is the next condition, he is murdered inside this temple. So Kennedy could not be killed at the main street, he could not be killed at the airport, he could not be killed in Fort Worth, he had to be killed inside this temple, this Freemasonry Osiris temple. And when you know that it is part of the ritual of the Third Degree of Master Mason in Freemasonry, then you know that it is a religious killing. So it is absolutely obvious that there are some religious people behind it, and for a religious reason. Huh? He was killed on the Elm Street. He was not killed on the main street. He was killed on the street of death. And there's much more to it, actually. He was killed by 3 ruffians after they failed to obtain him from the Master Mason's secret password. I know that is a kind of repetition of last time, but I don't know if anybody looks to that series sessions in the chronological order. Yeah, so 3 ruffians are the 3 tramps who had been arrested. The strange thing is that even 29 years later, so 2 + 9 means 11 again, the Dallas Police Department revealed that the 3 tramps had these or resembled these names. So it was a 666 organization. Freemasonry serves the sun god, or the god of this world, or what Bob Dylan would say, the world we cannot see. And Ted Sorensen, who wrote the scripts of Mr. John F. Kennedy, was the one who actually made his books, or wrote his books. But John F. Kennedy took the fame, of course, because he wanted to become president, and that's the thing. He had another so-called political friend called the ambassador of the United States of the UN Security Council in New York. His name is Adlai Stevenson, or was Adlai Stevenson. He was been announced in 1961 as the ambassador to the United Nations. And remember now that quote of Jack Rubenstein, or Jack Ruby, when I mentioned about Adlai Stevenson, if he was vice president, there would never have been an assassination of our beloved President Kennedy, unquote. So Adlai Stevenson was befriended with JFK, and look what appeared on October the 25th, 1963, so a mere 4 weeks before the assassination of Kennedy. Stevenson spoke in Dallas, Texas, where he was heckled and spat upon by unruly protesters led by retired General Edwin Walker's National Indignation Convention. At one point, a woman hit Stevenson on the head with a sign, leading Stevenson to remark, "Is she animal or human?" and telling a policeman, "I don't want her to go to jail, I want her to go to school." Afterwards, Stevenson warned President Kennedy advisors about the ugly and frightening mood he had found in Dallas, but he did not discuss his concerns directly with Kennedy before the president's visit to Texas in late November. On November the 22nd, Stevenson was attending a luncheon held by Chilean ambassador when he was informed that Kennedy had been shot in Dallas. He told friends and aides, that Dallas, why didn't I insist that he not go there? I think that is very important to know.
Yeah, that is.
And it's very interesting that how does it call here? He did not discuss his concerns directly with Kennedy. He warned his advisors, but we cannot know if the advisors of Kennedy ever had passed on that information to Kennedy himself. And if not, for what reason? I think you can guess it on your own.
Pretty easy, Michael.
Pretty easy, yes.
Yeah, pretty easy when you know these characters. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, this is the attack on the head with the, but nevertheless, I just want to show that to you. So JFK conservative from Ira Stall says that the trademark speech, which was never held, concluded with a quote from Psalm 127, "Except the Lord keep the city, the watchmen waited, but in vain." Kennedy's own watchmen failed him. None of his Secret Service detail had been out. 9 agents of his Secret Service detail had been out drinking past midnight, etc., etc. But that was not the reason. You see, that they were drinking was been planned beforehand, huh? So, quote of the Psalms 127, where at the assassination site, huh? You see, it was here where Kennedy was killed, and here they have placed that sign with that remark from the Bible without quoting the Bible. Huh? Without quoting the Bible. Once again, you got so many hints here that it was a religious ritual. It is unbelievable that the public does not recognize it as it is, but it's also not, they don't read the Bible. They don't have a clue. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know the truth because that's a Psalm of Solomon. And what is the ritual of Hiram Abiff about? He was the architect of King Solomon's temple.
That's right, Michael.
Yeah, so we have to assume that even the people who wrote that speech, which he never held, but who has been published then, has been officially laid out in the open on that grassy knoll. Yeah, even they admit that, that was a ritual, because I don't think that Kennedy was quoting the Bible in every speech he ever held, huh? You don't think also, and if so, not a psalm from the Bible from Solomon. Come on, really. There are no such coincidences in the world. There are no such coincidences. And then we come to the new part. So you see, his watchers failed him, but it's not the same watchers that Peter Gabriel, Genesis, are talking about, because they are not quoting from the Bible. They are quoting from Apocrypha, or they are quoting maybe also from Paradise Lost. Yeah, these people, they don't want to follow God's commandments. Otherwise, they could not be dressed as if there were some other character, because it is forbidden in the Bible to bear false witness. Yeah, so case closed. Yeah, so these are remarks from that speech he never held, which is, of course, digitally available nowadays, because they had a computer which have been fed with some words from JFK, and then they prepared it artificially as it sounds as if JFK has held that speech on that day. Oh, so much for fake news. Okay, let's move on. In that speech, he said the United States is a peaceful nation. Oh yeah, correct. Yes, when you think about the Korea War and all the other things, yeah, it's of course. I don't want to go into every nitty-gritty here because otherwise it would take 3 hours, and I think you have a right to know what the Kennedy Antichrist is all about.
That's interesting you mentioned the Korean War. My dad was involved in that. He wasn't on the battlefield, but he was in the, I forget now, he was in a some type of what was it? He had a job with the Air Force, was it? And he was just basically involved with storage type duties, nothing involving warfare, but still involved with war. So I don't really know much about the Korean War. It's interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's just remarkable that after Kennedy was dead, that the increase of war, the war machine in the United States, was very obvious to anybody. It was not only the Vietnam War, it was the Afghanistan War, it was all over the place after that. Interesting that they submit that this is why our information agency has doubled the shortwave broadcasting power of the Voice of America and increased the number of broadcasting hours by 30%. So this is manipulation, this is propaganda. Central Intelligence Agency, yes. They had also launched more than 130 vehicles into Earth orbit, weather and communication satellites. Yeah, what did LBJ say in 1962? Who will control the weather will control the world. Yeah. Who is controlling the United States? Yes, that's the same people who are controlling the weather now. So when people have to starve, it is not about God who is not sending the rain. It is about people controlling the weather. But you try to tell the people that, and they will say that you are a climate conspiracies or what else. I don't know.
Or that you wear a tinfoil hat in private.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah. So in the German Wikipedia about the CIA, the known operations been said that it's in the nature of things that secret operations are not being made public. Yeah, sure. That's a quote in German, which means keep them stupid, I keep them poor. And you can guess who's who. Yeah, okay, that's a German chancellor or a former chancellor, and she's responsible for taxes. Huh?
Yeah.
So you know who's who. Okay. Yeah. So as so many hidden operations in the CIA about the program or Operation Artichoke, a program for research of brainwashing and interrogation methods under drugs and torture, MK Ultra, etc., etc. You see that these are just the known things. Yeah, it's not that just been hidden from the public eye. Secret prisons in the foreign countries called black sites. Operation Neptune Spear, the preparation for the operation for the capturing or killing of Osama bin Laden in May 2011. I have a hard time with that because years before, the former Pakistani Prime Minister, female minister, Benazir Bhutto said that she knew who killed Osama bin Laden, but that was years ago before they found Osama bin Laden alive and well, huh? Yes. And she was assassinated a few weeks after that, or a short time after that. So we're coming down to the things, to the assassination of Kennedy. Don't bother about any bystanders, I can only tell you, because there is much more to it. This is a religious ritual. It has nothing to do with the things and with the people who try to get your attention. The infamous umbrella man, for example, a witness who was seen carrying an umbrella. This is all just a spoof here. Because he said that he was complaining and protesting against the father of JFK with the appeasement policy of Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of United Kingdom in the time when this dad of JFK, Joseph Kennedy, was an ambassador in Great Britain. So what does JFK has to do with that? Apart from that JFK has pinned down a book when England sleeps or so, when he was talking about policy in the Second World War. But it is in Dallas in 1963 on a sunny day. Somebody is wearing an umbrella. You really think that it is a symbol for policy of Neville Chamberlain. I have quite another idea what it is, but that's so disgusting that I have to leave it for a later session. It has nothing to do with the policy of JFK's father, yeah, obviously. And many people think that was a sign to inform the people that Kennedy was not shot yet. I think that when you're riding an open car, Brad, everybody sees that you're alive, and when you're dead. Yeah, so you only have to use common sense once again, that you know there is some other meaning, and if the meaning is to distract the people to that guy, that there is something happening simultaneously that you don't have to be aware of, so that you get distracted on purpose. And that is the reason, my humble opinion, why the umbrella man showed up. It is also a very extremely disgusting sign, but that comes out of my experience, and I'm not ready to share that at the moment because it would spoil all the investigation if I tell you the conclusion of it all now. I think that maybe some of you won't listen to the next upcoming sessions if I would spoil it then, and then to leave a spoiler here. Okay, so that is the umbrella man. Yeah, umbrella man has been said that he made that his umbrella a sign for the shooting. Another theory said that, or actually is proposing that the umbrella man is throwing a dart to Kennedy, that Kennedy has been what is it in American English now? Betäuben, paralyzed. Yeah. So I don't go for that BS, actually. I know that there is something more to it. These are the things that keep you distracted from the real official thing. Yeah, so that man has been identified officially, of course, years later. And he says that the name is, or they say this name is Louis Stephen Witt in 1978. Yeah, so 15 years later, they come up with that conclusion. Of course, they do that from time to time to keep the fire burning in Kennedy and to come up with another thing and to bust some other things, and so that people are being constantly busy but not in the right direction, also in the wrong direction. He said he did not know that he was being searched, that people were looking after him. Yeah, of course, when you do, officially you claim you protest against the politics of the father of JFK, then out of a sudden after JFK said you are not interested in politics anymore, huh? You're not interested in that it is you, where many people are suspecting who could be the umbrella man and what was his order, what was his duty on that day. Of course, then you, after JFK has been shot, yeah, you are losing absolutely interest in reading newspapers and following the media. Sure. Oh my, I don't want to spoil your precious time. Really, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, this is a comic of Neville Chamberlain, the appeasement policy that was the official, one of the reasons why Germany went that into that military machine and could then perform the Second World War. Yes, if you know that, if you believe that, you don't know the real people behind Mr. Chamberlain and the British government. Let me tell you, these are nearly the same people as in the United States. Yeah. So I have to skip that. So please do me a favor. If you concentrate on the assassination of Kennedy, don't wear any tattoos, because you have the big problem. If you are getting older, the size of the car is changing. And that does not mean that it is the truth anymore. So when you really know that this car was 6,660 something inches, you know more than enough. Yeah, please don't exaggerate it. I know that is maybe a funny or unfunny remark, but that is the situation which shall draw your attention also to another thing, because it shall draw your attention to behind to the entrance of the Texas School Book Depository. It's very interesting when you know all about the things here. When you are really researching that, you know that it's all distraction. It is unbelievable, but it's all distraction. Yeah, but this episode is also only for the ritual, because I cannot go into who did what, because otherwise we need 20 hours for that, because I would have to give you all the clues and all the hints who did what, but we have to do it chronologically. So this is the religious background of the ritual. The session is called JFK Antichrist for a reason. Because JFK has been played out as the good guy or the good cop. Yeah, that was our very last good guy, and they killed him for it, and that is untrue. Just killed because he did not obey his master. That was the real reason he was killed, and we will prove that, at least indirectly. Yeah, so that we will provide you with so many hints, with so many similarities and not coincidences, that there will be no other possibility left. And I know that I need 60 sessions or so to do so, but I know it is about one of the world famous politicians and American presidents of all time. And they are presenting them, people are presenting JFK as the savior. They are presenting him as if he would have survived, if he would not been killed, then America would not have gone to the war, then America would be an honest country, then everything would have changed. And no. We know from the episode that to every time there is a season of Ecclesiastes 3, if I remember correctly, then you know nothing happens by coincidence. It happened because it was planned to happen that way. Yeah. So his duty was to become president, and his task in life was to be killed. As a prime example, out in the open, what will happen to any politician who will not obey his master? That is my conclusion to that. And that's also the conclusion if you go into the ritual. Yeah. If you go to Luke 18:18 and 18:19, what does the Bible tell you, Brett?
It tells us, I'll read it. Luke 18:18, and a certain ruler asked him, saying, Good master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus said unto him, Why callest thou me good? None is good save one, that is God. Thou knowest the commandments. Do not commit adultery, do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother. Mm-hmm. And he said, all these I have kept from my mouth up.
Yeah.
From my youth up, excuse me.
From my youth up, yeah. And now listen to that verse 20. Yes. Adultery was what JFK has done, and he has bared false witness because other people has written his books, and he got the fame for that. So you cannot present JFK as the good guy. He had other terms and he had other ideas, but he was just another side of the coin. That's it. But it has been presented here as an alternative now that if Kennedy was the one in charge, then everything would have been solved. And then you see that he is presented now as an idol, which could have been saved the entire world. And that is so untrue. That is so untrue. They are just presenting him as a replacement for the Savior, and I will prove that now. Think about 1 John 5:21.
Yeah, little children, keep yourselves from idols. Amen.
Mm-hmm. They are doing that with every figure outside, with everybody in the public light. They are trying to present you somebody who can save you, who can be worshipped, who should be followed after, who has followers, who follow us on Facebook. Yeah, it's like Jesus and disciples.
Michael, it just never fails to just completely boggle my mind how many Catholics are in the United States. All being raised under the American Roman Catholic Church, which is a unique institution different than any other Roman church in the world. They teach us little tiny portions of the Bible and they tell us, oh, this is what it means. This you cannot, they completely have constricted us with their dogma, not just Catholics, but Protestants too, because they're all apostate churches, Michael. The apostasy has reached far beyond just Catholics.
So
Church and state, yes.
So are you ready to go 7 or 8 minutes into a world famous artist who calls himself an idol? Before we go before we go with full force into Kennedy.
There's so many of them. Which one?
Him.
Oh, Billy Idol? Yeah, right.
Billy Idol, the name who has idol in his name.
Yeah, of course.
It's so hot in the city that he's got no sweater and no shirt. Yeah, and he has to raise somebody on a cross. So all his content in the videos, or almost all, except pedophilia. If you like to go into pedophilia of Billy Idol, just listen to the lyrics of Sweet 16. He's got the same problem as the Beatles. But it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious that people, of course, it is just for the lay audience. It is just for the Antichrist, because that is why he's so successful. He has more than $60 million on his bank account. Yeah. But I have so many things about him. I had to go into him for a few minutes, and then I really promised to go into Kennedy full force. So Billy Idol, just another idol like JFK. Okay. If you combine yourself with Miley Cyrus, that is a statement in itself, yeah. But if you have a sticker which calls idolize yourself, then it means just do what you want. You don't have to listen to any commandments. You can just be your own God. Do what thou wilt. It's just pure Satanism, and maybe that is what also achieves his left lip. I don't know. Yeah, it must be the left side, of course. Yeah, cannot be the other side. It must be the left side. No, yeah. So Billy Idol has been sold more than 11 million tracks, and in his hometown or in his country also 1.1 million. I said, oh, 11, interesting, huh? Nothing to do with Freemason or Satanism. Yeah, huh? You think for yourself. These are images of lightnings here, and idolize yourself. Yeah, you don't have to follow Jesus Christ. You are your own idol. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, his actual name is what's his name? William something. I don't know. Yeah, William Michael Albert Broad. But Billy Idol sounds more stylish. Okay, now listen carefully. He is the one who says the rebel yell. Yeah, so that's a rebel. He's of course displaying the cross as a trophy. Yeah, we crucified Jesus Christ, and he has a tattoo with a girl with a pentagram on her head. Yeah, so far so bad. But the rebel yell. Rebel means Nimrod. The rabbinic writing derived the name Nimrod from the Hebrew word marat, meaning rebel. The Babylonian Talmud states, why then was he called Nimrod? Because he stirred up the whole world to rebel against his God's sovereignty, encyclopedia, etc., etc. Of course, that's what he does. Yeah, that's why he is erecting here the middle finger, which means not but means Saturn, and Saturn is the planet of death, or absolutely another name for Satan. So he's a Satanist, right in the open. That's why they use this music, for example, in the Miami Vice series, when it is about killing and shooting and all the things. And also they have their strange Trinity-like buildings here in Miami Vice. But now you have to look real close. Catch my fall. He's speaking as a prisoner. Which fall does he mean? Huh? You can guess for yourself. I would like to give you a hint. Read Isaiah 14. Catch my fall. And a black in
Ace
English.
of Spades.
Ace of Spades. Yeah, Ace of Spades is also a name of a title from Motorhead, I think. Ace of Spades is the opposition of the Ace of Hearts. So if you got a black heart, you can figure out the meaning for yourself, I think, huh? So catch my fall. This is just a minor thing, and now we're coming to the real nitty-gritty. Yeah? You see that transhumanism shock to the system, Terminator-like, and he has something to do with religion. You can tell.
Oh, confessional.
Yeah, it gets worse than that. Yeah, because the worst thing is white wedding. Has something to do with religion, I think. But with which religion is it? If you look at the notes, this is the drum score. It is 4 on the floor. Of course, it's a disco title, no? And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is for the drum score. So you know there are 4 drum beats in a row. And now it gets really strange because at the beginning of the track, before he says, "Hey, little sister, what have you done?" Yeah, it is not 4 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, what is Michael going? Come on to Kennedy. Yes, I will do so. You see 4 on the floor rhythm. And now this is a video to that. See what I mean? There are just 3 nails. The first drum is kicking in and he's pushing down the first nail. Second drum is kicking in, he's pushing down the second nail. The third drum is kicking in and he's pushing down, of course, the third nail. And what about the fourth? Because there is no fourth nail. Of course, he's pushing again the nail, and then it's pushed down to the limit. Yeah. And what's the symbolism in that? It seems to be like a coffin. And why are there not 4 nails but 3 when it is a 4 on the floor rhythm? I can give you some clue. I don't know if that is correct, but I think that for me that is the logical outcome. If you show the people 3 nails on purpose and not a fourth one, then it is equivalent to the symbol of the Jesuits with the 3 nails. Of course, 1 nail for every arm and 1 nail for the 2 legs. Yeah, that's the first hint. Second hint, eyes without a face. That is here, the top of the pyramid is an eye without a face, isn't it? And at the Freemason hierarchy pyramid, it's also an eye without a face. And there's much more to it because usually the soldiers of the United States Army are called GIs. That means meaning of governmental issue, general issue, ground infantry, blah, 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 galvanized iron. What about GI? 2 male and female. Yeah? So that is also a GI. And from a country who has been originally founded on Freemasonry, I think that I'm close enough on that. Well, it gets worse because he's wearing a ring on his left arm or left hand. No? Of course, that could depict a double-headed eagle. It could also depict a fallen angel. Who knows? But it's on the middle finger, on the Saturn finger, on the Satan finger. So you know that it has a negative meaning, huh? And when he's presenting you the cross around his neck, you know that has a negative connotation because in the Bible, symbols are not allowed. Yeah, and his his best songs are called 11 of the best. Has something to do with Freemasonry. No, that is just another coincidence, of course. Just another coincidence that he appears on the Devil's Playground album. Yes, and Flash for Fantasy also depicting a pink triangle. Triangle, symbol for the Freemasonry, symbol for hierarchy. Pink triangle can also mean a ritual of Aleister Crowley, and that song starts before anything goes into full force with the hiss. Yes, but it's just me who is just recognizing at 26 seconds that Mano Cornuta devil horn signs here, huh? It is just me. Must be my eyes. And left side once again. He's quoting for the left side. Pyramid once again, and really left side once again. Yeah. And this is a song called Flash of Fantasy. Once again, eye without eyes without a face. And this is a face, but this is just one eye symbolism. And what does Flash of Fantasy mean, Brett? Can you come with a conclusion?
Yeah. Flesh for Fantasy would just be Oh, lust.
Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. It has a numerological value. It is.
F.
Yes.
Oh.
It's just the same
Fridays
all over
for
again.
Future, yes.
Yeah, Flash for Fantasy is the same as Fridays for Future or Fear for Fools or for Food. I don't care. You see, that can mean everything, but it is 666 nonetheless. Yeah, and I know there is no planet B, but there is also no planet E. Yeah. So people are very happy who are in this agenda because they absolutely know what they are doing or they ought to do, and she's ought to do what her parents are telling her. And it's all about fear mongering. It's a climate catastrophe. The desert is dying, and oh yeah, and there's no planet B. Yes, there's also no planet Earth. But what they do know, they don't know anything because they believe in science of the schools. So that's it. Because now we're going into Kennedy, the Masonic legend of Hiram Abiff. Of course, Hiram Abiff been presented in the St. John's Church. St. John has been officially, the birthday is 24th of June, which is the opposition of 24th of December. And none of the two dates are correct, but it's just a legend. Huh? The tale of Hiram Abiff is passed down in Masonic lodges in the third degree. It starts with his arrival in Jerusalem. He is appointed by Solomon as the chief architect. And as the temple is nearing completion, 3 fellow craft masons from the workforce ambush him as he leaves the building, demanding the secrets of the master mason. He is challenged by each in turn, and as refusal to divulge the information, his assailant strikes him with a mason's tool. Yes, 3 times. This is the English part of that. Yeah. Freemason substitutes God's perfect example and man's only hope of salvation, Jesus Christ, for a spurious fantasy figure called Hiram Abiff. Instead of using Christ as its model of truth, fidelity, and salvation, it transfers its loyalty to the phantom figure of Hiram. Freemasonry teaches if we possess the same painstaking fidelity as our grand master, Matthew 23, it is forbidden to call anybody your master, did in the hour of tribulation, interesting, then will our final reward be that which belongs to a just and perfect man. We have just been reading that there is no just and perfect man. Hiram here becomes Masonry's savior, and following in his footsteps is said to ensure a glorious final reward. Rather than viewing Christ as the way, the truth, and the life, Freemasonry looks to another, Masonry's Hiram Abiff. Yeah, that's a counter-Christ, an Antichrist. And as JFK was the victim in that ritual that every apprentice to the third level has to face, you can speak of John F. Kennedy now as a master mason. They are just, according to the teachings, there were a mystical word, of course, which has never been revealed, the mystical word which was only known to 3 people. These were King Solomon, a Hiram, the king of Tyre, and a fictional Masonic character called Hiram Abiff. You see, it is not just confusion by random, but confusion on purpose here. Because there is a Hiram, king of Tyre in the Bible, but no character called Hiram Abiff in the Bible. Interesting. Yeah, you see now that is the ritual killing of Hiram Abiff. And he was being killed by 3 people. These people are called Jubela, Jubelo, and Jubelum. Yeah. So that is the ritual. I don't want to go into every nitty-gritty of that ritual, of course. I just want to point out that Hiram usurps the place of Christ.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think that we have to read any Bible verse here, because the Bible verses have clearly been stated in that article, which is not, of course, 100% correct in my humble opinion. But that's not the point. The point is that I'm very thankful for that article, because that put my research in the right way, that it is a religious ritual. Yeah. And so that is, it's a real problem in it, the real shame in it, is that the people have been drawn away from the Bible and the real savior into this mystic legend thing of Hiram Abiff. But what do you think what the outcome is if you are join a secret society? then you want to be supreme. You see, the hierarchy of the Freemasonry has nothing to do with the real Christianity, because in Christianity, the people are brothers and sisters. That's it. There is no
brethren. Yeah, we're brethren.
Yeah, brethren. There is no supreme brother or what else.
No.
Yeah. There is no supreme brother, and that's a real problem. That's a real problem. They have deviated critically from the truth and text of Scripture, inserting erroneous legends into several well-known scriptural references. They have distorted the Bible account of the lives of key Old Testament Bible characters and have attributed events to locations and time periods that never actually happened. They have blatantly altered the Word of God, accepted teaching that is alien to Scripture. They have accepted and secretly propagated dogma that is in total conflict with the inspired text. Yeah, that's the purpose, I think. You see that if you serve the opponent of God, or of Jesus Christ, because Satan means the adversary, then he turns the word around. That has been spoken in the Bible. I don't know what kind of...
Should I read the conclusion quick? Back there? I thought that was interesting. Conclusion. Christians know that there is no man ever born or any religious figure ever found or any fictional character ever invented who can be compared to the Lord Jesus Christ, the eternal Son of God. To equate a make-believe Masonic hero with our Lord and Savior is the worst, or the worse than disturbing, is worse than disturbing, excuse me. It must concern every Bible believer reading this. This teaching muddies the gospel message, dishonors our blessed Savior, and confuses the already perplexed Mason. We can only view this teaching as dangerous heresy. How true and solemn the words of Scripture are, quote, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. 2 Timothy. Yeah, that's good enough, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the key issue. That's the key issue. That is just the purpose of any secret society, to keep you away from the truth into a secret society. When you be revealed these secrets and this secret, and then another year, another level, and that secret.
Well, it's double-mindedness. They're trying to get you to, get hooked on something. Yeah, like it says right here, the question we must ask these secret societies is, why do you need an alternative Christ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you want to exalt yourself, because you want to be a master mason. You want to be a master for yourself. You don't want to be an apprentice, or you don't want to be nobody. You want to be somebody. You want to have fame and success and power and glory for yourself, and that's Luke 4 or Matthew 4. That's a deception in it. You want to become master. Yeah. Only Satan could contrive such a deception that would have the ability to command the sympathy of hundreds of professional evangelicals. Yeah, but that is also the problem, because the people who do not read and do not follow the Scripture, they want to do the explanation for themselves, and they will adapt the explanation when it suits them. That's why Pope Francis says Jesus had failed on the cross. Yeah, that if somebody in the United States heard that statement, how can he be still a Roman Catholic? Because then he said, more or less, that Jesus is not the way, the truth, and the life. When he failed at the cross, you see. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that people have... they just, maybe they're not only Christian by name, but also Roman Catholic by name. It's just, oh yes, I'm Roman Catholic, I believe in anything, but I don't care, because these people don't care, because they are too much busy and entertained in their worldly, fleshly life, flash for fantasy. You see, when I come across that T-shirt, my Grandmaster is Hiram Abiff. Have you seen him? You see, my Grandmaster. Yeah, you don't call anybody your master except Christ. Yeah, and you can ask yourself, oh, Master Hiram Abiff, the great architect, maybe it has something to do with Pink Floyd The Wall. Yeah, I never got into Pink Floyd The Wall. I know, because I was so disgusted as the Psalm 23 deception in the Pink Floyd album Animals, I think it was. But if you would like to look up Pink Floyd, look at the manager, not Pink Floyd, and then you got ding, Freemasonry popping up. Yeah. So nobody is your master, and that's a quote of Matthew 23.
Yeah. 23 verse 8. But be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
Yeah, so much so for the Grandmaster, or what else, of Freemasonry, a Master Mason. You want to become a master. Look at the Chinese arts of war, Kung Fu. Yeah, then you're a master. It's always the same. It's always the same everywhere around the world. People want to exalt themselves. They cannot humble. They cannot humble. So that was the German version. Yeah, I said that there is a quote also that you shall not exalt yourself, and that is also here depicted with the Freemason hierarchical pyramid. And also this has been mentioned here, this Jabulon, these three characters been mentioned here with this legend Hiram Abiff. It's also been mentioned in the OTO order, where Aleister Crowley was a member, and when he was contacting diverse Freemason groups. There's so much to it. Yeah. Jabulon is also a name of God. You cannot imagine. Yeah. The word Jabulon has been mentioned in OTO secret rituals. It has to be a secret. And the word is used in two rituals of the OTO, the Lodge of Perfection, where the candidate received the 4th degree, which is called the Perfect Magician. The Perfect Magician, which then I came up, it's interesting, which falls between the 4th and 5th degrees. Yeah, that means also in this book, the lyrics of a song that mentioning the word Jabulon. So I don't care what it actually means. I just mean about the Perfect Magician reminds me of the magic bullet, or the single bullet theory. So, except from the official explanation that the bullet the trajectory of the bullet was changed in midair, I don't care. That's not the point. The point is that the angle is not correct, because allegedly the shot came from the 6th floor window. So very, very steep angles. When it comes from a very steep angle, it goes very steep below, and that does not fit the the wounds in the body, simply say. So that it's absolutely BS. All the things about Oswald is BS, had nothing to do with truth. Yeah, doesn't cause 7 wounds. Yeah, because you see it just doesn't fit. Yeah, it doesn't fit. Yeah, the angle is very steep and it will not be deflected from the body, and you see that is not a usual behavior of any bullet known to me. And it happened only once. It happened not before and did not happen after the assassination of Kennedy. And there are no magic bullets, except the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald, of course, people will say that, oh yeah, he was cursed, maybe he was demon possessed. I don't know. Maybe the bullet had some strange artifacts. But apart from that, logical, reasonable thinking, common sense, people, has nothing to do. So when the angle is been depicted here that way, then it moves or leaves the body in that angle and not in an upward angle and not in a left angle, and is not twisting and twirling and having a good time. And then been found almost pristine in the hospital, sure. So that is quantum physics. That has nothing to do with reality. Yeah, you have to ask the scientists from a few sessions before. Yeah, it has nothing to do with reality. It's just quantum physics. Yeah, it's just a relative truth. Yeah, it's not the absolute truth, but it's just a truth. Whatever you would like to have. Yeah, and you have a consensus. Yeah, if you want to make it in this world, you have to be a liar. You have to be a traitor. You have to be cheating. Yeah, then you will make it in this world. As Mr. Clinton. Yeah, sorry, but you see, this is all fantasy physics, like Einstein. Yeah, special. This is also special relativity. It's very special here. Ah. I got so many evidence on my hands, but if I would tell them now, I think that would extend every session, because I just want to point out to the ritual here. So we are focusing at the moment on the religious ritual. Yeah. So this is the pristine bullet here. And that reminded me of another joke of Freemasonry. And this is Freemason Oliver Hardy on the right here with his famous partner Stan Laurel with the famous thumb lighter. And that's what I would like to show you. And I know that I can show you because I have tested it before on YouTube. So I can now show you they make a fool of you by playing tricks on you. This is the hilarious, funny thumb lighter from Laurel and Hardy way out west.
Thank you.
So now coming back to the serious things. Jabulon, the name of description of God, appears in the ritual. It's blasphemous. It is an amalgam of pagan deities. Yeah, of course, it's all Freemason. You see that, you know enough now for the ritual so that we come to the comparison to the actual ritual. Yeah. They claim that a master mason is not a usual man, but it is a divine man. Yes, sure. This is the master mason third-degree ritual exposed, if that is correct. The apprentice here has been dressed and his eyes are hidden so that he's helpless and blind, and he applies also to get the initiation into the third degree of Freemasonry. That's been quoted that, and those ashes scattered to the four winds of heaven. So four winds of heaven means four winds is an earth phrase that means from all sides or omnipotent, also to all sides, north, west, south, east. And these are the four winds of heaven. And now compare that please to the Didi Plaza. These are the pergolas. Pergola usually means that it is a building supporting two other buildings, and this is not only a building because it is just an open building. You see, the wind could rush through it from both sides, Brad. Yeah, inside, outside. Inside,
and the rain can even wash down.
And the rain can even wash down. And here you see that famous or infamous quote of the Psalm 127. Huh? Yeah. Oh, they are really making it not too difficult to look behind all this. And here you see the Didi Plaza from a bird's eye, so to speak. Here you see the North Pergola, where of course north is the site of death because the sun is never appearing in the north, and it's the sun temple. This is Osiris here. So you know now north is here, and you know that east must be here because that is Osiris. So south must be here and west must be here. And you see, you got here an open pergola, you got here the open pergolas, and you got here an open pergola, and the fourth one is where?
Oh, you mean the underpass?
Yes. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah, you see, through the triple underpass, lots of wind can blow there, in and outside. Yeah. So these are the four winds. or the 4 directions, yeah, east, north, south, and west. That is the purpose of all this. In my humble opinion, in my research. Maybe there is another or a second explanation, I don't know, but you see that why are these things open? Yeah? So that is the 4 winds of heaven. We are talking about the ritual here, not the 4 winds of heaven. 4. Yeah, here you said a resemblance of 4. And also in the Bible, it's been said that here it is the 4 winds of heaven in the Matthew 24:31. There it is.
Should I read the whole thing or?
No, just the 31, I think.
Okay. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
So, of course, Jesus was depicted here, if you remember that appearance on the sea where the disciples were frightened to death, and he ordered the wind to calm down. Yeah, can remember that in the Bible. Yeah, so whoever who can control the weather will control the world, or whoever will control the wind is divine, or God on that regard. Yeah, or God. Yeah, there are many so-called scientists today who are not chosen and who are no scientists, but who want to control the population and want to darken the sun. Yeah, so whoever wants to control the weather will control the world. That's what the quote of Lyndon B. Johnson from exactly 60 years ago was been quoting, saying to you. And that is Mr. William. Mr. William wants to darken the sun for the CO2.
Another William. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like William Idle.
Yeah, or Will I Am. Yeah, correct. Yes. Yeah. And you see, there are no coincidences. This is the famous radio broadcast and television host Walter Cronkite, who said in the bulletin from CBS News, which was restricted from publishing on my YouTube channel, in Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. Yeah, what do you expect? No? In Dallas, Texas, in downtown Dallas. Yeah, you see, Dallas has been mentioning twice here. Aha. But 3 shots, you see that right from the beginning. 1 hour later, it was just not 1 hour, but just a few minutes later, it was clear that it has to be 3 shots. They never changed that because it was part of the ritual. The 3 shots, the 3 ruffians, the Master Mason, 3rd initial degree of Master Mason. Yeah, but look what I found here also in that report of that day from Walter Cronkite, which resembles the signature of him. Yeah, you see that here? From Dallas, Texas, the Flash and Purity official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. 38, Brett, is? Numerology, Freemasonry. 11, once again. Yeah, what a coincidence. And it's just a bunch of coincidences here. Huh? So back to the rituals. Those 4 winds of heaven. And then the Master Mason, which is depicted here with the blindfold. He's been attacked by the first assailant from the first attacker, whose name is Jabello. Yeah, you see, these are just being depicted or being dressed as tramps. Yeah, you see, they are not wearing any hats. They are not wearing any business suits. They are not wearing any smokings. Yeah, they're just being dressed very ordinary. Yeah, so he was attacked for the first time. And the first attack on that ritual of the life of Hiram Abiff, yeah, when he will not divulge the secrets, that comes from the first attackants, and he passes the 20-inch gouge across the throat of the candidate. 24-inch gouge across the throat of the candidate. And that's what you see in the Zapruder movie 226 frame. Across the throat. And that was when he is appearing after the Stemmons freeway sign. Both arms of JFK are then moving upward to his throat. And that is according to the ritual. It had to happen because they say in the ritual across the throat of the candidate. Once again, it is a religious ritual here. It has nothing to do with coincidences. And then they come up with their own explanation, which is very interesting, because they say, oh, no. That has nothing to do with Kennedy itself, which is natural reaction, because there's a so-called medical Thorburn position. That is a reflex position assumed by the elbows immediately after injury to the spinal cord in the lower cervical region, especially, if I remember correctly, on the vortex 6. The Thorburn position is a broad popular interest, as it was assumed, coincidences and conclusions here, by John F. Kennedy at the time of his assassination in Dallas in 1963, and is regarded as evidence against the popular JFK assassination conspiracy theory. Well, there are other explanations possible why he did move that way. But we can think of that if somebody is moving his hands to the throat, the situation is very severe, because if somebody would come from behind, for example, and having his arms on your throat, you would feel very uncomfortable, to say the least. The peculiar position assumed by the elbows immediately after an injury at the level of C6, called Thorburn positions, public domain. Yeah. So the C6. So when an injury is here happening, they say that it's a logical movement of your elbows to go up. I don't know the logical conclusion of that, but it's just Wikipedia who tells you that. And that is coming from Sir William Thorburn. Very interesting guy, huh? An English surgeon and pioneer in modern spinal surgery. At the time of his death, he was an emeritus professor at clinical surgery at the Victoria University of Manchester. So an English guy. Yes. And he was honored CB, CMG, military, KBE, while during his stay at Malta, where he was given the honorary degree of medical doctor by the University of Malta. Yes, what a coincidence, a bunch of coincidences here. Somebody who has served the United Kingdom explicitly, I think. Huh? What do you think, Brett? That is a line of orders here, a line of medals, huh? Most excellent order of the British Empire, Order of the Bath, once again, the Order of the Bath, and the most distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George. And very interesting that they come up with that strange position and that strange explanation there, and they come up with somebody who was a knight, of course. Yeah, a knight. It's been depicted here, a knight. Yeah, and CB means a commander. Yeah, he was knighted. He was a knight. Maybe he was also the Knight of Malta, because he was stationed in Malta, but the Knight of Malta has been moved to the Vatican long before that. Yeah, and you see the same position of his hands or elbows once again, and even that in that infamous Ike Alkins picture, which I will go into extensively. It's also been seen from the front here, if that photo is not altered, that his hands are moving towards his throat. Yes, and that is incorrect here, but that's also not the point. Yeah, you see that also in a close-up here, that his hands are moving to his throat. You see that every picture here. It's very strange. Yeah, it's very strange. You have to get the fact that he's wearing a corset at the same time, so he could not move very freely. Yeah, and that's the problem with it. That is the problem with it. So people really think that it is just a medical explanation, that there is just a medical explanation in that. Yeah, you see that is that very movie here. And when he's coming and he's visible after the Stevenson freeway sign, then you see his hands and elbows are moving up. You see it now. You see that here. Huh? Yeah, now it's moving up. Oops, yeah. Yeah, and now you see somebody with an umbrella here, and you see somebody waving here. It has all a certain meaning, of course, but it is just to distract the people from the things who are really going on. Yeah. But you see now that is a logical thing happening after the ritual, when he has gotten the first strike across his throat in the Masonic ritual. Yeah, and officially they explain that as a single bullet theory. Yeah, when that bullet was just injuring Kennedy and injuring Connolly at the same time. That's this very strange bullet. Ask any policeman, ask any hunter, ask any professional military specialist, and they will never come up with that explanation, because nobody has ever seen a bullet behaving like this. And also there's a very, very, very strange reason for that, because it is the #1 reason. What I extremely rarely see at any JFK documentation is that this explanation of the Warren Commission means that Lee Harvey Oswald could not have done that shot. And we will come to to my explanation quite later in that series or in that session here. So that is the single bullet, or the so-called magic bullet. And they have decided not to use any actual picture of JFK for that Warren Commission, because out of ethics, and also the Kennedy family was in accordance with that. Very interesting. And of course, there are many, many different alterations here. That is the wound in the first hospital, Parkland Hospital, and the Warren Commission does show a very big wound here on the front. That is because in the Parkland Hospital they have tried to help him with a special operation here, but it's just very pointless to do that move, because he suffered a severe brain damage. So that wound here would not have killed him necessarily. That would have caused a very severe wound, and but it was not the fatal shot, so to speak. Yeah. That is the problem here, that the wound has been changed and the position had been changed. It is all BS. It's all BS. Yeah, but the explanation would be interesting. First strikes a blow at the throat, the seat of freedom of speech, and that is a mortal wound. The quote of Kennedy was, "I believe in America where the separation of church and state is absolute." And in contradiction to this, you see that we have come across to the 1960 campaign of John F. Kennedy, when the evangelical people, they claim that in the Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 11, page 696, says the truth we proclaim under oath is relative and not absolute. Yeah, so you see that they can even lie, the Catholic Church, but JFK said the separation of church and state is absolute. And who says that there is no separation of church and state is, of course, the Vatican, because you only have to point to the flag of the Vatican to see that there is a combination of church and state. It's the silver key for the state and it's the golden key for the church. And they have been mixed up together with that cord here. Yeah, in red, and red is the color of blood. So anybody who would like to release that is playing with his life, and that would be a very logical conclusion, that also that sentence was the one which got him into severe trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well put, Michael.
So the second strike from that Freemasonic ritual would be at the heart, the home of the freedom of conscience, and that as well might be fatal, since it put out the last ray of divine light with which man is guided. That is explanation here, which is not my explanation, but that is also a part of the speech of 1960, Kennedy's campaign, and Kennedy says, yes, I believe in the freedom of conscience. I have to retranslate into English here, but he says, I believe in the freedom of conscience. But the third of the foul plotters fell his victim's dead with a blow on the brain, which is the throne of freedom of thought. And what did JFK said in that convention here, 1960, with the evangelist preachers then? He said, today I may be the victim, but tomorrow it may be you. It was a remark of his Catholic belief, which puts him to blame in the election. But yeah, then you compare that with his. I think that his special belief put him into trouble and put him as a victim. Yeah? So that is from the Houston Ministerial Question and Answering 1960. Question and Answering 1960. So there are many, many strange remarks in that Kennedy Zapruder film. We will go into the Zapruder film extensively. I think at least a 2-hour session on that. I have learned from a very interesting and very talented researcher, very interesting facts about the Zapruder movie that is highly altered and a total fake. Yeah, it's a total fake, that movie. But you see here that yellow sign on the pavement here, or on the board light. What is it? What is it called here?
On the curb, yes.
On the curb, yes. Yeah. So you know that when you were leaving the inner temple, for example, so unless when the ritual had been to proceed or to put out. Yeah. Yeah, there are many people who say that Mrs. Kennedy was trying to put up a part of the skull. There's much more to say, but not in that episode, because there is another part of the ritual what I would like to go into. You see, everybody behaved very strange on that day. The driver should have been accelerated instead of slamming on the brakes. But what does it wonder? Because the Secret Service does serve the state and not the president. Yeah, that is what people do absolutely forget. Yeah. So the conclusion is that Kennedy was been hit on the head fatally. That's the same what appeared in the ritual of Hiram Abiff, but I have inserted here incorrectly. I apologize, because we are still at the second ruffian at that time. Because onto the west gate of the temple at his gaze, he is seized, etc., etc. Says it's here on the west gate of the temple. The west gate of the temple. Question: where is west at the Didi Plaza? That is very, very, very important and also extremely obvious and simple if we go into this. Moving to the place where Kennedy was shot, that's the white X here. That's close enough, fair enough. We know this is east. We know this is north. So we know it's north, this is east. This must be south, whereas westward is obvious. So where's west?
Right? To the right.
To the right, to the triple underpass, and that was the very direction that Kennedy was heading.
Yes.
So the ritual is still intact. Although I do not see a strike on the heart. But, and that's a very big but, I don't see a strike on the heart because it is not revealed in a Zapruder movie, but it did not actually means that it is not there. Because I reckon that there are some parts of the Zapruder film or frames missing before the third shot. For several reasons. We will go into this really explicitly, I can promise you. But you see, the ritual is still running. But the second ruffian, the strike on the heart, is not visible on the Zapruder movie. Therefore, I say that's another hint that the movie has been altered. Yeah. So this people or this figure of Hiram Abiff only begins in 1723 onwards. Yeah. And in Masonry Dissected, the grave is described as follows: decently buried in a handsome grave, 6 foot east, 6 west, and 6 foot perpendicular. Huh? So once again, it's obvious, people. It's obvious. They are just playing with things. Yeah. So these old Masonic rituals are just being a play of words, a play of rituals, play of directions, play of all these pagan things, occult things. Yeah. For example, it was always the master's custom at high 12 at noon to go to the sanctorum, to the Holy of Holies, to pray the true and living God. Yeah, they do not worship the true and living God. Don't let them fool you. Yeah. After this, King Solomon sent 12 crafts to raise their master Hiram in order that he might be interred into the Sanctum Sanctorum. So 3 distant knocks. Aha. Interesting. Yeah. 3 distant knocks. Not 4 like Billy Idol. Huh? It's 3 distant knocks. Ah, interesting.
Distinct. Yeah. Distinct.
Yeah.
Isn't that distinct?
Yeah. That's why I think there is a saying to knock on wood, which means that it's wish you luck. Actually, it is officially, it is from sailors that they try to check out the quality of the wood. But there's also another occult meaning, which means that you shall get rid of ghosts. Yeah, and you know that you only have to proclaim and propagate, to make propaganda for occult things, to achieve a #1 in the United States Billboard charts in 1979 with Amy Stewart, Knock on Wood. Doof, doof, doof. Yeah, look at that, not that picture, but look at that song, Knock, knock, knock on wood, doom, doom, doom. It's 3 times. Yeah, it's so obvious. She says it's like thunder, lightning, so it's a pagan god, for example. That's like Zeus. You better knock, knock on wood, baby, Babylon. Yeah, I'm not superstitious. No, of course not. That's why you knock on wood, huh? And she's in trance, so what else do you need to know? So this is all Freemason BS. It's necromancy also. Yeah, it's all necromancy. Yeah, that's what they are. The only thing that on purpose and with meaning that these terrorist ISIS organization officially, which of course is another division of the biggest army of the world, has done is to blow up some Baal temples. At least that's what they are good for. The Canaanite deity Baal Shamin, yeah, Cani Baal, the priests of and the worshippers of Baal or Satan. Yeah. And they don't mention cannibalism with the Temple of Baal, of course. Yeah, they don't. They will avoid it at any cost. No? Sure. There's also a difference at Freemason temples and other temples to the underworld, because usually you step up, yeah, to get to the high authority or to the supreme god, and there also you can step down to the underworld. Yeah, so there's a comparison and so weiter, etc. at the Greek temples. Yeah, so sometimes your god is living in the underworld, like Osiris at the moment. Yeah, Osiris is in the underworld because the 14th part, his phallus, has not been found yet and will not be found because he never existed. Osiris is the lord of the underworld, and he's here depicted in 14 pieces. And the 14th piece, of course, is his phallus erected. Oh my. And by burying Hibam Abiff outside the temple, the ritual was betraying its own content. Yeah, the problem is actually that this is just a ritual here, but they played it out on every Master Mason apprentice without killing him, except JFK. Except JFK. Yeah, and then I do necromancy, and it's unbelievable. So back to the ritual, actually. This is the ritual exposed. The second ruffian is attacking the Master Mason or Hiram Abiff in that regard, tried to get out the secret word. Yeah, and is not successful and strikes the candidate on the chest with a square. Yeah, so you can assume that maybe your President JFK got also a heart injury, and I have a special suspicion about that, but let's do it on another occasion. Yeah, so these 3 tramps are very, 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 very important for that ritual. That's why they were arrested afterwards, and that's why also many people claim, yeah, they were the shooters and they did something, etc., etc., etc. And don't be fooled, especially not when you're coming from Minnesota, because there is a high-ranking disinfo agent called Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura once was an American wrestler, an actor, and a radio host. And all his professions are somebody who is bearing false witness. Yeah, he's an actor. And then he was a governor, so he's an actor. A wrestler is an actor is an actor, and radio host has to act as is and has to read some messages, cannot proclaim and broadcast his own opinion. And he was a governor, so he's an actor.
Oh, never mind that Jesse Ventura was part of a television series called Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah. So they killed our president. Who's they? He will never tell you because he's part of the establishment. I found it so interesting because I did not know up to that very day.
Yeah, it really should read, "We killed our president."
Yeah, I did not know that he was a governor of Minnesota. That's why I said.
Oh, okay, you didn't know that, huh?
I placed him there just for your.
Oh yeah. Well,
no, you got 50. You got 50 states. You see, you have 50 counties. I cannot.
Michael, when you were in your 20s, did you figure out anything about this Masonic, presence in Europe?
No, of course not. I had other interests.
Me too. And that's the thing, you know, when we were young like that, being introduced into politics and thinking that you know, that can make a difference, you know, voting for people like you know, Governor Ventura. It doesn't make a difference. It's just that we think it does. Yeah.
So it's about the three tramps, because these are the part of the ritual. So they had to appear in that. You see that these lousy clothing they have, yeah, you see that is on purpose. It is not just that they had bad luck, but it was supposed to be so. So this is the continuation of the ritual. The third ruffian, yeah, his name is Jabelum, not Jabelum, not Jabelum. After the candidate is still in the role of Haram, so he is still blindfolded. And now they prepare also a Shitsia that he can fall into that after he has been killed in a play, so not for real. Yeah, so the candidate is in the role of Hiram Abiff. So Hiram Abiff refuses to divulge the Master Mason's secret even upon the pain of death. You see the guy is still blindfolded here. And then he receives from the third ruffian, he has received a struck on the head by Jabal Looms. Yeah? Then he falls dead into the sheets which are already being prepared after them. That is a ritual of grown people. Secret societies. That's what they're doing behind secret doors, and they're doing much more, I can tell you. Yeah. So that is what's about. The third struck, or the third bullet, yeah, that is what kills him, actually. That is the same what happened to Kennedy. So Kennedy was then initiated into the third degree of Freemasonry in a Freemason temple. What do you expect? The only thing is missing is a second bullet which hit him, or strike. But I can tell you there is an explanation for that. The problem is that people cannot see that. I found a very interesting interview with Jordan Peterson, which I personally like very much. I don't know if he just has the right faith, but he has a functioning brain, so to speak, because he thinks in real loving kind of manner. But I did not follow the interview except for the last seconds, and this is just here an insert of it, because the host of it said that if you don't have some notion of the divine, or maybe of some God or some belief, then you believe any damn thing. Yeah, I found that very interesting, because that what is going on outside now since 2019, so to speak, is a ritual for people who do not believe in the Almighty God. It is a counter belief. It is an alternative belief. But it isn't belief. They believe that the things that are being presented by the television are actually true. And we should not fall for that, because we should not believe that all the things that the Zapruder movie is showing us are true. Because if there are vital parts missing, which they are, yeah, we will draw incorrect conclusions. For example, the second attention on the life, and many, many more. You see, there are only the first two frames, then are more than 100 frames missing, and much, much more. We will come to this. But really, if you don't know the God or the Bible, you don't have any standard, and you cannot compare anything, and then you fall for everything. Don't fall for everything. Keep the Bible, the King James Bible 1611, as your reference. Yeah? As your reference. Yeah. So that is the very sequence before Kennedy was fatally shot. Yeah. So why is the driver looking back? You see that he is supposed to have his eyes on the road and to get Kennedy out of trouble. So you know from that perspective alone that there is something is happening. Something is it's utterly not correct there. Yeah. You see, that is 1/18th of a second before the final headshot came. Yeah? And you see that happened in an area which was not much frequented, and I think on purpose, because I have read some biography of a very interesting witness, and she said that, oh, that was restricted there and I was not allowed to go there. But she had very severe reasons to shoot, because she was befriended with a Dallas policeman. There's so much to talk about the Kennedy assassinations. Yeah, and here you see the final head blow. I don't like it to show you, but I have to show it, because you see that out of a sudden the head is exploding. Yeah, and it has some orange color like it. I know that orange is in some rites is the color of the 33 degree of Freemasonry. That's very strange because usually you don't see a head explode if you ask somebody who has killed people in the war, and they will never come up with that picture. Yeah, and that is also proof that Lee Harvey Oswald could not do it. Could not absolutely do it. Yeah, because if you compare the so-called magic bullet with that, you see the magic bullet has allegedly caused several injuries. So the magic bullet must be, the magic bullet never existed. It was placed in the hospital on purpose. But if, just if, a bullet would cause several injuries and travel through a body, then there is only just one possibility, and that is a full metal jacket. Otherwise, it would have been stuck in the body and not leave the body. And so when you know for sure that a so-called magic bullet, which was never magic and which was not a bullet, theory was being proclaimed by the Warren Commission, then you know that they are lying to you, because the wounds on Kennedy, even according to the official version of the Warren Commission and on the House Select Committee on Assassinations, they do not point out that these had to be made, if these were bullets at all, from several guns. Because according to my knowledge, it is not possible that the alleged rifle of Lee Harvey Oswald could carry so much of a diversity of bullets. And even so, how can you know which bullet you need for which shot? You see that Lee Harvey Oswald was just marked as a marksman, and even not as a sharpshooter, not an expert or so. Yeah. So how should he know? And that's the cause for it, which I say that even that, if you go on the lowest level of research, you have to question the thing. It can't be true, because the strike which hit allegedly Kennedy and Connolly had to be a full metal jacket to leave the body, to pass through Kennedy. And that bullet did not pass the head, but it just exploded on impact. So it cannot be from the same source. And also imagine that that shot occurred when Kennedy was more far away than from the previous shot. So you know that these explanations are totally incorrect. And ask any professional shooter, they will never tell you anything about the magic bullet. This is totally BS. And we will come to an extreme different explanation of the events to happen, which is most likely the case. It is absolutely immense what you have to do on research to see so many different views and then to compare all the things. But that is absolutely blatant a lie, that has something to do with the same rifle or even the same ammunition as the alleged shot on the throat of Kennedy. But you see that it is just a ritual. Yeah, you see that the number of shots or the number of attempts, the number of injuries, etc., 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 the number of events, the direction heading west, etc., had to be succeeded. And you know that there is an oath of the Jesuits who say that it is just to INRI. Yeah.
Meaning there.
Reges impios, I know. Reges impios. You cannot have everything in your head. Justum neca reges impios.
There you go.
Yeah, it is just to exterminate or annihilate impious or heretical kings, governments, and rulers. That is the case with Kennedy, because that is what happened in 330. And not by random. Because there are many people who are coming up with some explanations, and I kind of agree a bit on that explanations, but I got a second explanation about that. So then compare the explanation sets. You know that it happened in a Freemason temple. You know it happened as an initial ritual to the third degree of Freemason. So if it is a religious ritual happening in a temple, then it has a religious background. And then a reference to that can only be a religious reference to that. And there are some possibilities. So this is the first reference, Brett.
Oh. Wow. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And and all the world wondered after the beast.
We know that this is the wrong explanation, but we know that there are many churches around the world who are deliberately using the wrong explanations of Bible verses. But you see a head as if it were wounded to death. I think that we can agree upon. And it's very strange because when you know the numerology and the obsession of the Freemasonry into rituals and into numerology, then it is very strange that the picture which shows the fatal headshot is been numbered with 13. Yeah. So if you are as a director and you are cutting the thing, you can decide which number you will give, because there are some frames before and there are some frames after that. And you focus it on that frame and you said, okay, that must be a 13 frame. Yeah, and then you count upwards and downwards. And as there are frames missing, it is absolutely totally easy to do so. So that can be a reference. But it cannot be the only reference, because it is a book of Revelation. It has absolutely nothing to do with the mortal man, Brett. But this is the internet research explanation of that. I have a second explanation of that, which I find a little bit more fitting to that, which also has a reference to the Bible. And I will try to make that plausible to you. So look at my explanation about that.
Proverbs 13:3, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction.
Can you imagine why I came up with Proverbs 13:3? I got two reasons to do so. The first reason is that Proverbs 13:3 also has resemblance to the wound before of the wound of the throat. Yeah, so that if Kennedy would have kept his mouth, he would have kept his life. But he has opened wide his lips against the real rulers, and he was destroyed.
Right.
But the real reason why I came up with Proverbs 13:3 is so obvious. Who wrote Proverbs?
Solomon.
Yes. So Solomon wrote Proverbs 13, or is alleged to have write Proverbs in general. But the book of Revelation has been written by the disciple of John and not Solomon. And we are here in the ritual of Hiram Abiff, the alleged, never lived, legend, blah, 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 architect of Solomon's temple. So I think it is more logical to come up with something that Solomon has said or written down. And I have looked upon the first books of Kings and second book of Kings and some other things and Psalms. And in the Old Testament here and there, Genesis I've looked up, and I came up to the conclusion and said, no, it has to do something with Solomon. It is Solomon's architect. And I found Proverbs 13:3. So I cannot prove it, of course, dear audience. But I found that a little bit more fitting because it has something to do with the Old Testament or something to do with Solomon. But that is just my opinion at the moment. I cannot prove it. That is just the beginning of a research. It has something to do, of course, with the religious killing. Yeah, it was not my intention to use 13:3 Revelation. These were other guys who were doing research. Yeah, but the heads of the wound were as wounded for death. Yeah, that is upon a beast. It has nothing to do with a real man. So I think something concerning to Solomon is more fitting, but it's just my personal opinion. You are free to have your. Yeah. So in the Jesuit oath, it's been stated that they can also use the lead bullet. They say in the fourth oath from the Jesuits, which is in the open of the congressional record, if I remember correctly, in 1933. I will seek, that's when the same cannot be done openly. I will secretly use the poisonous cup to strangulation cause the steel of the poniard or the leaden bullets. Yeah, we're talking about bullets here, even in the old times, leaden bullets. Yeah, so that was most likely what Kennedy got killed. Yeah. And then it's very interesting when you see the famous picture of JFK head wound, frame 313, maybe the Book of Revelation, maybe some other books about the beast Roman Empire. It is very interesting that on all the pictures, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald has also a head wound. Look at this here on the mugshot picture. So very strange coincidences here, which are happening, but don't get into believing that the Zapruder film is for real. They are missing out several things here. Yeah, there are several things missing, big time. Yeah, but I cannot go into this. You need hours to show this is wrong, that is wrong, that perspective is wrong, that is missing, that is missing. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. You see that they had this movie under lock and key for more than 4 years. They had time to do copies of that. They had time to alter the things, alter sequences even. Yeah. So when the ritual was finished then, the Hiram Abiff character falls dead and pulled to the floor by his conductor and others. You say he's laying in the sheets here. Yeah, and they throw him in a pile of rubble until low 12 or hour or midnight. Of course, midnight has to do with midnight. Yeah, and they will carry the body away from the temple to symbolize the burial. Yes, and that's what they did to Kennedy as well, Brad. They carried the body away from the Dealey Plaza temple to symbolize the burial. He was passing the Märtyrer Park, the martyr,
yeah.
Yeah, so he was a martyr, he was killed for his faith. Yeah, and then he was driven to the Parkland Hospital. Yeah, has something to do with the park, maybe. Just maybe, just a coincidence, Brett. There's nothing to see here, huh? Yeah. So to the west, of course. So JFK's body has been then made a short autopsy, but then something happened and JFK's body was taken to the Bethesda Naval Hospital. But what for? You see, the autopsy of the president was performed at the Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland. Why? Because the autopsy began at the same day at 8 p.m. on the day of the assassination. It ended at about 12:30 a.m. That is very strange. Why? You know why, Brett? Because one day before, on the 22nd of November, that is the same time when Kennedy was killed. Do you think that is a coincidence? The choice of the hospital in the Washington, D.C. area was made by his widow, Jacqueline Kennedy. She chose the Bethesda Naval Hospital because President Kennedy had been a naval officer. And this is absolutely exoteric. It has nothing to do with the real reason. Yeah, they had concerns about the larger plot and urged President Lyndon Johnson to leave Parkland Memorial Hospital so that he could return to the White House and blah, 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 blah. And I got another interesting story. Now, please listen carefully. I know it's very late, but please listen carefully now. It's very interesting, I think. Dallas County Medical Examiner Earl Rose was in his office at Parkland Hospital, so the first hospital, across the corridor from Trauma Room 1 when he received the word that President Kennedy had been pronounced dead. He walked across the corridor to the trauma room occupied by Jacqueline Kennedy and a priest who had been called in to administer the last rites to the president. There, Rose was met by Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman, that is the man on the passenger seat in Kennedy's car, and Kennedy's personal physician George Berkeley, who told him that there was any time to perform an autopsy because Jacqueline Kennedy would not leave Dallas without her husband's body, which was to be delivered promptly to the airport. I can remember from last session that I think that Kenneth O'Donnell said that he was the one who wanted to place the body to Bethesda, but I think I can mix it up, but I know that there are several accounts for that. At the time of President Kennedy assassinations, the murder of any United States president was not under the jurisdiction of any federal organization. Rose, so the medical examiner, objected, insisting that the Texas state law required him to perform a post-mortem examination before the body could be removed. A heated exchange ensued as he argued with Kennedy aides. Kennedy's body was placed in a coffin and, accompanied by Jacqueline Kennedy, rode down the corridor on a gurney. Rose was reported to have stood in a hospital doorway backed by a local policeman in an attempt to prevent anybody from removing the coffin. According to Robert Carus, the years of Lyndon Johnson, the passage of power, the president's aides had literally shoved Rose and the policeman aside to get out of the building. In an interview with Journal of the American Association, Rose stated that he had stepped aside, feeling that it was unwise to exacerbate the tension. So they did not want to do any autopsy. So they wanted to avoid any autopsy in Parkland Hospital. That's very strange. Very strange. And now please remember from the ritual of the Freemason, quote, his murderers hide his body under a pile of rubble, returning at night to move the body outside the city. So it was absolutely necessary to keep the ritual running to move Kennedy's body outside the city. Officially, then the Freemasons, they buried him in a shallow grave marked with a sprig of acacia. But, no, we are not going into the gunshots now. No, we are not going into this. No. This is the Bethesda Hospital, where Kennedy was finally then examined or made an autopsy. The Bethesda Naval Hospital is called the President's Hospital. Built from a sketch by President Franklin Roosevelt, who was a Freemason, the Bethesda Naval Hospital, now the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, is the largest military medical complex in the world. Its iconic tower, opened in 1942, is listed on the National Register on Historic Places. Why did they choose that hospital? Don't come up with the idea that it has something to do with the naval officer and something to do with the widow of JFK. Nothing to do with that, I think. Yeah. Because Bethesda is the name of a pool in Jerusalem called the House of Mercy, a place of flowing water, popular among some Protestant denominations as a name for religious meeting houses. Once again, remember the ritual. He is murdered inside this temple by 3 ruffians after they failed to obtain from him the Master Mason's secret password. The themes of the allegory are the importance of fidelity and the certainty of death. But inside the temple does not mean that he's buried inside the temple, because he was carried away outside the temple and buried then under a pile of rubble at midnight. So I don't know if there really had actually been buried the remains of JFK under a pile of rubble. But I know that they have moved him outside the city. And where was the temple bred of King Solomon? In which city?
Oh, Jerusalem?
Yes, Jerusalem. Yeah, so he is murdered inside this temple in Jerusalem by the 3 ruffians, but then he's been carried away outside the city of Jerusalem. And where to? They drove him from Parkland Hospital to the Bethesda Naval Hospital, which was been built due to a sketch by the famous Freemason president. And then Bethesda is the name of a pool in Jerusalem. So, outside the temple of Jerusalem to a pool in Jerusalem. That's it. Of course, you can have your other explanation or alternative explanation, but that's my explanation. It is a religious ritual. It is a religious content. It is a religious killing. And they drove him to the Bethesda Naval Hospital. Of course, also because then it was a military complex. So they could control everything, which they did. But Bethesda means the name of pool in Jerusalem. Parkland does not mean anything related to Jerusalem. Or maybe a park in Jerusalem, I don't know. But Bethesda means a pool in Jerusalem. That's why they carried them there. And they had the total control over his body and his remains. Yeah. Bethesda means the house of mercy. There was a certain man there which has an infirmity 30 and 8 years. Oh no, not 11 again. Yeah, and Jesus was healed him in Bethesda, at the lake Bethesda, a pool in Bethesda. Huh? Yeah, John chapter 5, verse 2. Now there is at Jerusalem by a sheep market a pool which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda. Yeah, so that is the ritual of JFK. So that is the ritual of JFK. And that is also the reason why there are different autopsy pictures of Dallas Parkland Hospital and Bethesda. Because they had total control of the body, or the bodies. If you're really into the JFK assassination, you have to say about the bodies. Yeah, because nobody knows whom this backside of head really belongs to, huh? Could be anything. Yeah, but this is part of the next session when we see that it's very strange when in Dallas they have stated a small wound, and at Bethesda they have said that it's a large wound, about 5 times the size. And at Dallas he was having a brain, and at Bethesda he was having no brain. And I think that is a no-brainer that something happened on the way of transport, which happened, of course, with an official machine, an airplane. Yeah. And also different kind of caskets and different kind of sheets. And so your conclusion can be maybe a different kind of a body. Because we are talking about a military hospital. We're talking about the Secret Service. We're talking about that everything is possible. Nothing is impossible because they can do everything and they get away with everything. If they get away with the killing of the murdering of American president, then they get away with everything. And they do get away with everything for now almost 60 years in only the case of Kennedy. And they also got away with the thing of the killing of Abraham Lincoln. So they get away with everything. With JFK, with Abraham Lincoln, with the First World War, the Second World War, the Cold War, the current situation, they get away with everything. Because people believe everything. Because they don't have a faith, they don't have a foundation. People don't have a foundation, that's why they believe in everything. And I hope that this session would have really opened up your eyes why the sequence was moving as it was, and what's going on behind the scenes will be the part of, or will be the content of the next 20 sessions, because there's so much to see, so much to think about, which the mass media never will tell you, because for them it's just a lone nut killing the president with 3 shots, and 1 shot has missed. Yeah, so 1 shot has missed, but the excellent shooter could then kill the president from a steep angle, and you see that it's hilarious funny. So please just stick with the Bible. Yeah, just stick with the Bible, because then with the Bible you see that everything is set and written there. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. That is really, I can only give you that advice. This research would not be possible without the Bible, because only with the reference of the Bible as the foundation of your faith, then you see all the betrayals, you see all the fakes, all the forgery, all the little things here and there. And that's why I would like to welcome you in the next upcoming sessions. I can tell you that I have prepared hundreds of thousands of pages with things that in combination, then you really see what is going on when you have the Bible as your reference point. So thank you much for having me. Thanks for bearing with my bad English today, and I'm handing it over to my brother Brett to close it down. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. Pleasure to be with you again today. Yeah, this is John chapter 14, Verse 1, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And that will close the session for today. And and then maybe verse 4 as well. And whether I go, ye know, and the way ye know.
Yeah, can I add something, Brett, that really I would love to do more for the Bible and more to put people to the faith, but I had done for months an extensive research on Kennedy, and I would love to publish it. You see that it is out. And when it is published about Kennedy, I really promise I will not go into a next politician, singer, or something else, because it really strikes me to bear with all the satanism there, with all the hate, with all the killings, with all the things. But it is necessary to put the people down to the things what your official sources are not telling you. But it is really, really, really heartbreaking and very intense to look at all the things and then to see the world as it is. You see that the people intend to see the people as the world. They want to have it like a merry-go-round or like a horse ranch. Yeah, you see that everything is smiling, everything is happy, but that is not the place. The world is a mess. It's a total mess. It is here where Satan is ruling, and that's what they get, why they get away from that. And please excuse me that I have to show some terrible pictures and some awful things, but it's really what is going on behind the scenes, and it's not my kind of thinking or my preference, but it's just my purpose, it seems, to reveal all the things that you really see, that everything which has been written in the Bible is so true, is absolutely true, and there is no relativation in the Bible, and that is just the absolute. Yeah, the Bible is absolute true, and we are in a total mess. And JFK was just another pagan king. First Samuel 8. So sorry to have interrupted you, Brett. That's what I.
No, that's true. He was a pagan king, but he did have his moments.
Yeah.
And for those moments, of course, he decided to do things differently. And when he made that decision, it was his death sentence, I think. Yeah. So pleased to have your views on this age-old conspiracy, so to speak, in the United States, because they're still making movies about this, Michael, and they still have to have us believe the lie because it's all that's acceptable in society, and I think any real Bible believer that knows his Bible well enough knows that God is not gonna make this world his idol. He doesn't want us to idolize the world, I don't think. Far from it. We should, just obey God's commandments as he laid them out from the old covenant all the way into Jesus' covenant in his own blood, his sacrifice. So again, Michael, thank you from the United States. There are many people that are very curious as to see what Michael has to say about the conspiracy series here, as to do with the biblical view of the conspiracy, as Michael so justly put it, because really it's through the lens of the Bible that we interpret this crooked life that we live, and Revelation chapter 12 speaks very clearly of that if we're going to be reading the book of Revelation along with the entire Bible, we ought to know that book, the book of Revelation, begins with a statement that we will be blessed to know these things, not cursed. It's the other way around. In the world wants to give us a curse for being Christian, for holding the true Christian faith, which is only found in the old 1611 King James Bible, as Michael so correctly stated. But, you know, everything in this life is just turned upside down, inside out, and backwards at the moment, because that's what the man of sin in Rome wants. And that's what we get, because we deserve it, because we have turned from God. And Satan gets to do as he wishes with those that have done that. So thank you for your time, Michael. We'll catch up with you next time. Maranatha.